Hey folks, and welcome to our next episode of Last Voyage of the Whales Whiskers. Welcome to the channel. If this is your first time here, just want to let you know a little bit about us. We do run our channel 100% for charity. If you'd like to donate to our charity that we support, which is Satchel's Last Resort, which is a animal rescue organization here in Central Florida. You can click on the link down below, take you right to their site. They are 501c, so you can get receipts for any of your donations and all that other stuff. We have got all kinds of stuff ready for this evening. So without much further ado, I would like to go around and so y'all can meet our cast. First, we will start off with Kuma.
Hi, hello, yes, I am Kuma. I am playing our brass dragonborn life cleric, Kato.
Next up, we have Bird.
Hey folks, I am Bird versus Plane. I am playing Baldir the Wanderer, our Loxodon Storm Sorcerer.
Next up, we have we actually have the wrong person in the wrong spot. We actually have Meta, who I need to get in their right position because I apparently did not do it right. Go ahead, Meta.
Oh, okay, yeah. Hi everyone. I'm Metazoa. I'm going to be playing as Queda. She's a dwarf. She's an Eldritch Knight fighter. Yeah.
With a side of Echo Knight.
Oh yeah, that happened too. It was great. It continues to be great.
Next up, we have Grant.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm Grant, and I play Howron, our Drow Circle of Stars druid.
And next up, we have Ace.
Hi, I'm Ace, and I play everybody's lovable favorite, Duron, the Fathomless Warlock.
And unfortunately tonight we do not have our good friend Sol with us. He is not feeling well, but we should have them back next week. So, I am Tall Squirrel, I am your DM, and wrangler of the craziness and chaos. Speaking of craziness and chaos, let's talk about last session. Our crew and the Whale's Whisker has finally arrived after navigating upriver at this giant falls called the Broken Blade Falls. They had been told that they needed to find this shattered sword, and not knowing exactly what they might run into, they finally have realized that after a 3 days journey up this river, they came to this 1,500 foot tall falls that just because of the geography of the location, looks like it is a broken blade. Along the way, they had discovered that there is sort of a dark canyon that tied into some of the visions that Halron has had about his past and his ancestry, as well as some chaos involving this shard of the sky, the corrupted shard of the sky. A little bit of self-induced, but as D&D will do, we had some much needed chaos and fun as our good friend Duron, who is personally affected by the corruption of the shard, trying to somehow purge it from this piece of the sky that they've been asked to collect for his patron Shimindala, who as patron Duron, as collateral has kidnapped their Kato's cabin boy Fitz. Also, Biriana Brightwings, the captain of this ship of the Whale's Whiskers, a storied adventurer, in order to transport them to this sea and to not have to sail sort of the long way around, is indebted to a primordial dragon named Jin Surat, who is keeper of the Shimmering Grove, where they collect soul scales off of primordial dragons, or all dragons that have perished, as it carries all of the memories of that dragon with them. And she was also told that she would find this soul scale beyond the hilt of the shattered blade. So, with all directions seeming to lead north, past the falls, we will return to our crew as they have just arrived. It is around 4 o'clock in the evening, and they see before them this giant waterfall, 1,500 feet tall, gleaming in the late afternoon light like a giant broken sword, falling in almost a laminar fashion, creating the blade, and then the winds within this space that they're in, this deep funnel-shaped canyon, whipping away the bottom of the waterfalls, making it look as though the blade has been shattered and scattered upon the walls of the canyon. With that, I look to our group as Biriana's, upon seeing this, just whispered under her breath, "The shattered saber. Everything we're looking for lies beyond the hilt of its broken blade." What would y'all like to do?
Don't everybody speak up at once.
How much? How close to the metal are we putting this pedal, y'all? Like, if we're really this close, if Fitz is in sight, I mean, if we're this close to where we need to be, like.
So, like, is this something that we can really scale with the ship, or is this a put anchor down and we're going on foot now?
I mean, it took a dragon to lift the ship before, unless you've got some really big ideas. And I'm here to listen to them.
I don't know. I think we're a little tired of big ideas right now. Let's just.
You know, I've got an idea.
Oh.
Oh, another one?
Does it involve the shard in the walk? How about a wind walk? I'm volunteering Kato. I don't think druids have it. Or I don't have it prepared, at least.
Oh, sure.
Druids definitely have that spell, by the way.
Yeah, no, as I said that, I was like, oh, they definitely could get wind walk. But I can fly myself, so.
I can
door
fly.
a couple of us up there.
I could get myself up there.
Biriana offers that with her the Pirate Queen's vial, she can cast it, but only at she can't upcast it, I don't believe. Let me check. She can only cast it at 3rd level, which I believe would just be her. Which at this point, she is looking very much like she's planning on joining you, unless there are objections to stop her, as it is one of her crew members and her debt. And she sort of is looking up, and as you all are discussing, I don't have much to help all of us, but I can get myself to the top.
Didn't Kato do something when we went to go get the shard with an item?
Yeah, that got us back to the ship. So if we ever needed to get back to the ship, I could do that.
But we
thing
wind
again.
walked to the center of that cove.
Oh wait, okay, hold on.
Yeah, either Hara or Kato did, because
I think it was Kato. I don't think that
It was Kato. I did
It
not
was
cast
wind
wind
walk.
walk.
I do have a 6th level wind walk on my necklace, so we could all get up there.
it's how many
Now-
total people?
Up to 10.
it's like, oh,
Up to 10. Okay, great.
The problem is, if we use Word of Recall later, I can only bring me and 5 people. So if Otrek is staying on the ship, then that's fine, because then that would be 5 people. But
well,
if-
6 with Bariana.
well, no, if Otrek's staying on the ship, then it's 5.
Oh, it's you and 5 people. Got
me
it.
and 5 people.
Big engineering brain over here, guys.
So if we are saying that Otrek is staying on the ship, that's fine. But if we are going to pull Otrek in later and we're not back at the boat, I guess this is a little meta over the table, but I just don't want to say, yes, I have a solution, and then, oh no, I do not have a solution.
I think a lot of us can get ourselves back if it comes to it. Howron can transform and fly back. I think a few other people can maybe cast fly, like at least on themselves.
I was gonna say,
Uh,
Miriana does have fly, so and
Yeah, she can get
certainly
back.
your giant falcon form is basically a giant eagle, so you're
and I
able
can
to carry.
cast fly on like 3 people.
Yeah, it should be
Yeah.
alright.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I just wanted to future-proof. Sorry.
Yeah, no, yes. The you have the thing. Yes, you have a limited evac. We should say. You know, if you need to ripcord it, you know, it's there. You potentially could be leaving someone behind.
Queta is kind of staring up at the blade and thinking over for a moment before she says aloud. So we're going to be meeting Shimandala somewhere up there. Is that it?
As far as I understand it,
Duron, you absolutely still feel the pull now coming, you know, from an upward direction, the direction of your necklace, which has been guiding you to Volcaron, where Shimandala said to meet, seems to still be pointing northward and now at a higher elevation than you currently are at.
As far as I know, I don't want to guarantee anything.
Well, I suppose we should get going soon. And I guess you did establish that Variana looks like she is joining all of us, so Queta will continue. I was about to suggest that perhaps to avoid a repeat of what happened last time, Otrek might consider staying behind. But seeing as you're willing to join us from the looks of things, I suppose that works out perfectly, Captain.
I have a responsibility to the boy, and my own personal debt that I don't feel right just foisting off on all of you, unless there are some external reasons that I become a liability to this mission.
I'm imagining your presence can only help us all. Really.
And it certainly gives me peace of mind to know that Otrek and his skills would be here to defend the ship if there are any incidents like that occurred at the Vile Reef. The crew is more experienced at sailing than they are necessarily at fighting.
Well, if that's all settled then.
It sounds as though you all are thinking we should go ahead and get started this evening and not wait till morning. I would agree, unless there's some compelling reason for us to wait until morning. I am as prepared as I could be. I don't know about the rest of you, especially those with magic.
Perhaps I am just worried about. And Kato's just kind of looking around at whatever he can find. The curtains, yes. Something could happen to the curtains. I would feel better if we waited until we could see where we were going.
Real quick, is this the same day that we passed by the cove?
Yes, you passed by the cove this morning.
Okay.
And you have reached here at the end of that day. So it's been a long day. I mean, because you all were up basically right before dawn. You don't know what is going to lie beyond the hilt, whether it's whether you're jumping right in or there could be more travel involved.
And by curtains, I mean me. I do not want anything to happen while we are away. It has been a very long day.
If I may, Captain, the presence of the Sky Shard also seems to have taken a toll on the ship itself. It's not exactly a natural phenomenon that would be easy to fix with regular tools, but it is something I think I can patch up. But it would take some time.
She sort of also then looks at Duron, who still has 3 fairly lively spider legs coming out of your shoulder, the first one having sort of begun to decay.
I wasn't going to say anything, but I wouldn't mind. Maybe in the morning.
In the morning, then. Who knows what might lie ahead? Being aptly prepared is never a bad idea. I suggest then that we set anchor, and if we have any scouting we might want to do, or even examine this place closer, we get it done before turning in for rest. I'll definitely be setting watch.
I could probably take first watch with someone. There is something I want to try. A bit of pre-scouting. From the ship. From the safety of the ship, of course.
Of course.
Curtains reach, yes.
For sure. I will let the crew know what we have decided, and leave you to whatever will best prepare us for what lies ahead of us in the morning. And with that, she walks off and begins to sort of go around, and you can see pass the word to the rest of the crew. What would y'all like to do?
I would like to scry on Fitz again.
Okay.
Because doing it on Shimmy our boy is a bad idea.
Okay. Go ahead, and I know it's a
wisdom
yeah,
6.
Fitz is not going to resist any scrying, but I would like you to go ahead and do me a basically a wisdom saving throw, as I believe you have proficiency in that, just sort of to see on a 26. Once again, you pick up the book as you did last time and concentrate on those passages that you read before to make a connection to Fitz. Unlike last time, when it was more a narrative in the prose almost of the book, this time it is more traditional in the way that you are used to your scrying spells work. The first thing you notice is that feeling of motion, that feeling of that rhythmic beating of wings, of forward motion. And as your sight zooms in on Fitz, you sort of feel this sort of constricting space, being almost like wrapped in a blanket or sort of confined a little bit. But through the gaps of this confinement, you are able to discern there is still water below. There is no land in sight yet. As you concentrate longer on a 26, you're able to open your senses sort of just beyond the sight and almost back into that narrative space that describes it from a third person. And you realize the beating of the wings is not sort of this strong, consistent rhythm that you got so used to over the 3 days being carried by Shimandala. It is stuttered and almost stunted in some ways. It is weak, as though even keeping aloft seems to be taking a toll. And as you sort of make that realization, you find yourself pulled back. Unless there's anything specific you would like to try to perceive further. We could do some rolls.
I honestly couldn't think of anything. Especially since it's just water. Well, was there a specific, like, this is weird, is there like a smell to the corruption? Is there any other sense that I could try to pull from Fitz to see if that's what's messing with Shimandala?
You did not have any sense of it yourself. Otrek absolutely picked up on the scent of evolutionary magic back in the Vile Reef, and Halran, when we were going on the river, picked up those pieces. So I'm going to let you do a roll, but let's do it at disadvantage because it's going to end up needing to be you describing a smell to another person. You know, to be able to get enough information to describe, you know, something you're not smelling yourself. On a 10, you don't, you kind of mainly smell dragon smells, you know, but it does not, you know, there's sort of that a brininess and whatever. I would say you're not able to pick up enough information.
Perfectly fine.
Okay.
That's it from me.
Anyone else? Again, like I said, it's probably about 4 to 5 in the afternoon. Because of how deep this ravine is, the sun has basically disappeared already, and the moon has begun. You know, it was already up and is shining sort of down. So you're in that not quite night sky, like a twilight sky, but a bright, like 3/4 moon above.
Elron. Oh, please go ahead.
Sure. It's just going to be quick. Because Koeda wants to do something much later, but for the moment, I think she and the Echo are going to put their focus into clearing out some of the rot that was coming as a result of having the Sky Shard on the ship.
Mm-hmm.
She's going to go around mending holes made from that, patching up all of that stuff. And then maybe closer to night, when all of that is done, she'll do something else. But for now, we can kind of pan it over to other people.
Yep. Go ahead, Grant. What are you thinking?
Well, Halron, has had a long couple of days. And so at this point, especially with this magnificent sky to check out, he just retreats really to the crow's nest and eventually slips into meditation, both his trance and to switch out some of his spells for the next day.
Okay. Duro.
But that's everything for me.
I think Duron's just taking it easy, honestly. I don't have any specific goals in mind other than hopefully getting rid of this horrific thing on my shoulder.
Okay. Baldir.
Can Baldir use some of his experience as like kind of a up and through and under the mountains tour guide to just kind of take a sense of what's happening here and just kind of figure out, like, structurally, how do we approach this? What are things we need to be aware of? What are potential hazards or maybe stronger points when we ascend, like where we should be aiming for?
Okay. Go ahead and do me a survival check with advantage.
Dope. Let's see. Up.
So on a 28, you know, to scale the actual walls. Baldir, your eyes able to catch if you were leading a group up this sort of cliff face adjacent to the falls. It is craggy enough and not so. The rock is like a granite type idea. It's not going to be shale that would be crumbly or anything like that. As it sounds very much like you all are probably going to fly this. There's not a whole lot, but if something goes wrong, we'll say that you're able to spot a couple ledges along the way that if you all needed to bail out, or certainly if for some reason on the way back, that if you weren't doing the word of recall or needing, that you're able to scout out not only a manual path, but also places sort of respite. That if for some reason something went wrong or there's something unforeseen, there would be a place to land. And so keep that in mind if things go south, that you've got that in your pocket.
Not that anything has ever gone south with this specific crew, and not recently. But
right.
I like to have an exit plan.
Yep. So yes, I would say with that roll, you are Baldir has an exit plan. With that, just for time's sake, I know, Meta, you said you had one last thing before going to sleep, but we will sort of jump through the long rest and get this ascending underway. What do you got, Meta?
So when she's finished doing all that labor, fixing up the ship, making sure everything is like spick and span, Queta's actually gonna see if she can seek out Nerial once more before heading to sleep.
Do me a perception check or insight, whichever one suits your fancy. To sort of figure out where they might be.
Insight.
On an 11, you sort of go through your memory and thoughts, and after a little bit of checking for nefarious intent, you find Nerial in the kitchen prepping some rations for the expedition, angrily doing his thing as Nerial do.
Hard at work?
Looks up from you. Yeah.
Oh.
And you see, one of these six-legged, sort of mountain goats, just as you're in there with a little bit of intent, just slice open the belly, and all of the viscera just spills out on the floor, basically at your feet. Do a dex saving throw to see if it gets all over you or not. A viscera check. A splash damage, like in the weirdest sense. On a 13, you miss most of it, but he's got pretty good aim with as just the guts spill out of this goat. It kind of looks at you.
All right, that's. All right, that's really unsettling, but that's all right. How about I just get to the chase real quick, since I'd rather this stop happening to my shoes. It was very nice of you to come down personally and hand you that food, and hand us all that food before, obviously things went a little bit askew before. All right.
Yeah, I'm a nice guy.
I can see that. It's very apparent. I just couldn't help but notice that it looked like there was something more you wanted to see out of the Sky Shore.
Oh, you mean the thing that, all but killed all of us? 2 hours ago. Tkunk.
Well,
Tkunk.
Queta's gonna like actually start like removing one of her boots to start like wiping it off as she's talking. Well, yes, understandably, I understand there's a little bit of concern. Oh, that's not coming out. You know, and you're well within your right. Okay, that's on my foot. You're well within your right to do so. I was just wondering if there was something more you wanted to know out of the. Oh no, there was something more you wanted to know out of. If there was something you wanted to know.
He just sort of stares at you. And turns around behind him and throws you a mop. So you're going to clean up that mess? Skunk.
What?
Like the mess that the shard made? Skunk. You know,
Well,
we're part of this crew too. Skunk. Skunk.
yes.
Our lives are on the line too. Skunk. Skunk.
Queta is still looking for an answer, but she's just gonna slowly start moving the mop. You're right about that. I understand. And I suppose, with that in mind, the turns that this adventure has taken are not just unexpected, but incredibly unfavorable.
You don't say. Skunk.
Oh, I do say. Because it was very unexpected. From the very first moment this ship took off in the way it did.
Skunk.
I understand that this is messy work, but could you please...
What do you want me to say? You come to my kitchen. What do you want me to say? Skunk. I shouldn't be worried about the artifacts you bring on board and that might kill us. Been seeing your new friend around too. Skunk. Points at with a big butcher knife, points at the belt. Skunk.
Oh, you don't have to worry about that.
Didn't have to worry about what was in the barrel either, didn't I? Skunk.
I never said that. You know, it's not as if there weren't concerns. It's just that we were putting forth our best efforts, Otrek especially, to keep that under control. And then an opportunity presented itself, and
saw Otrek trying to keep you under control too. Skunk. Had a gun to your head. Skunk.
Yes.
But now everything's fine. Skunk. Just fine right now, huh? Skunk. And now we're on our own again. Skunk.
Well, that's not entirely true. Otrek is going to be staying with you.
Whose barrel worked so well. Skunk.
Well, he's going to have guns. And we're not in a barrel. We're in the ship. And the ship is now.
So the ship is a fish in a barrel and it's going to be shot with a gun. You're doing real good here. Skunk.
That's not what I said. The ship, I've already worked through it. I've made the ship. I brought the ship back up to tip-top shape. So, at the very least, it's in the best shape it could be in the instance that something could potentially go wrong.
Skunk. He just stares at you. Skunk. Skunk.
Queta's gonna cast Unseen Servant to get another person to help her clean the
Chkunk.
the floor. I just think it would be helpful to have another person. Normally, I wouldn't use magic so openly, but seeing as this is likely not the strangest thing you've seen now, because now there are 3 people in the ship: the Echo, her unseen servant, and herself. I suppose we're really past any sort of strangeness at this point.
Whatever. He just goes back to chopping.
Good talk. Good talk. And when she finishes with that, she makes sure to put away the mop where it looks like it should go, and just quickly just skitters away.
Okay. With that, we'll go ahead and swap into our long rest so you all can go through the night uneventfully with the crew on watch and Biriana setting watch with the crew. Certainly Halran, having turned in early, would be on watch. Kato out there at first. You do have some nice roast mountain goat for a late dinner by Nirial. And yeah, so the next morning rises. Duron.
Yep.
Roll me a D100.
Don't like that.
Nope.
That's 62. Okay, good to know. You wake up and you do see that basically all of the spider webs have sort of dissolved. Some of them sort of cracking off, leaving almost like, you know, after, if you've had like snow crab and sort of the shells are left behind, you basically end up with this very sort of crab leg, crustaceous sort of shell with just sort of nothing inside of it any longer, sort of soiling your bed a little bit with this sort of remnants of it, but there is nothing growing from your shoulder any longer.
I'll prestidigitate that away post haste.
Yep.
And then spring out to the ship.
Yep. The rest of you awake and can gather up on deck. Biriana is waiting. She has a pack on and sort of seems to be, has the Pirate Queen's veil strapped across her back and looks ready to travel. How about the rest of y'all? Are any special things that you're taking with you, or pretty much your standard adventuring gear?
Halron grabbed the necklace of rubies that he usually keeps in the ship's cabin, but other than that, looks, normal.
Okay.
I have a raggedy, magicless cloak on my shoulders.
Okay.
I know I said that I was gonna be able to set up for the teleport. I have a really bad feeling, so I'm taking my cup with me.
Ooh, okay. Duron, I will just for flavor's sake, Otrek does find you, and since he's going to be cooling his heels on the ship and working on the engine and some of his other projects, says that if you leave your cloak with him, he might be able to repair it.
Oh, I'll do that then.
Yeah. So, tell me a little bit about how we're going to do this.
How are we gonna do this? Because the realization that we might actually have to take the shard with us.
Biriana basically is. I mean, kind of looking like. So, who's carrying that?
Yeah.
If we're keeping the shard away from danger, I suppose I could be the one that it could be strapped to or carried far from, precarious situations.
Depending on how long this journey shall be, I can carry it for 20-ish minutes or so, just merely in the air beside us.
Oh, this would be a great time to have that Tensor's floating disc spell that I have never used in my entire career playing this game.
While it's not a floating disc, I can cast Summon Elemental. And the air one can fly and could carry it.
There's a potential that the shard makes the elemental go crazy, though?
Yeah, that is
What's
very fair.
How long are we expecting this fly up to be? Like,
It's about 1,500 feet. I haven't done the math out of, with everyone's fly speed and this, that, and the other. 20 minutes is probably cutting it close, but I would say certainly, any spell that lasts for an hour would be no problem. I see my good friend Ace, who's my other engineer, sitting there doing 30 feet per 6 seconds, and seeing how many minutes it takes. It actually is going to be pretty quick now that I think about it, because if you can do 30 feet or 60 feet every 6 seconds,
So what are the rolls that you have to do against the shard?
They are intelligence.
This thing is my nemesis.
Could whatever we decide, whoever ends up carrying it, could they be? I'm trying to think of like a magic way to try and shield them. I'm not sure if sanctuary would work though. It could be on a creature. Literally just spitballing here, guys.
I'm all for narrative pieces as well. I mean, don't get lost in the mechanics of what it could be. Tell me a good story of how you try of what you're doing, and we'll roll some dice of what makes sense.
I can cast fly on 3 people.
Biriana can cast it on herself, so she's taken care of. So
And
I can wind walk the rest of us if we want.
That lasts 10 minutes.
I would wind walk. It's 300 flying speed, right?
Yeah, but we can't wind walk the shard, I don't think.
Yeah, but if somebody's carrying it,
I
then...
can, again, depending on how quickly we move up, I'd take a lot, but I also don't want to, and I don't want to give us to touch this thing necessarily if we don't have to. I can levitate the sucker just like alongside us for a while.
Okay, wind walk duration is 8 hours.
The thing is, can you
and
carry stuff with you?
Oh, with the gaseous... Well, so...
I'd say your equipment is, but this barrel is pretty substantial.
So if it's anything like the spell gaseous form, it's everything you're wearing and carrying, but I don't know carrying if any one person can carry the shard. That's the problem.
It does say gaseous form. Could we... How heavy is the barrel?
Okay, so I just did the math so we can take care of this. I totally lied. At a 1,500-foot waterfall, using 60 feet per every 6 seconds, you get there in basically 4 minutes. It's a 5-minute journey. So,
however heavy it is, Queta does have the patented net stretcher technique. She also has her ropes of climbing that could carry the shard with her echo.
I mean, this barrel, because it's made out of lead. Go ahead.
Okay. What if we do it backwards? All right. What if, in order to get Otrek to us, I I would have to be here though. Damn it. Let's say going backwards word of recall to get whoever's carrying the shard and me to wherever we need to go. Somebody else had my cup.
Gotcha.
I think we can just. I think we are overcomplicating this. We can just wrap it around the nets. 3 of us can carry the shard up, probably with no real trouble, and fly last 10 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, certainly if everyone took a corner of Queta's net, no one would even be touching the barrel, and you could fly it up.
Yeah.
Okay. That the plan?
That sounds good.
What's the plan for beyond that, though?
Cross that bridge when we come to it.
We got to see what's up there.
In 4 minutes? Okay.
Yeah.
Actually,
Fly
you can
last
double
for
move, and so it should only be 2 minutes.
I was
You
doing
said
it at double
60.
move.
Oh, okay.
I was doing it at double move. already.
Oh,
With a 60-foot fly speed?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, fly gives you 60 feet?
60 feet. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I did it.
Oh, yeah,
at
Jay,
30.
so
yeah.
it's
we
120
calculated
feet
that,
per
yeah,
round.
yeah.
Gotcha,
So
yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
less
2
than a
minutes.
minute to get up. Yeah.
Okay. So,
All right.
you guys cast your fly spell. So, who's burning the spell slots? Because I do want to know that.
I can burn mine. It's easier for me to get them back.
So that takes care of you plus 3.
Yes.
So we still have one more person because Biriana has herself taken care of. So whoever either can cast it on themselves or however.
I will wild shape is probably the best way to go.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'll do the giant falcon, of course.
Okay. So you guys cast your spells. Biriana takes out her violin and plays a chord and begins to levitate off the deck. Duran casts his spell, and Halloran turns into this giant falcon, and you lift off the deck, flying upwards across the front of the falls in this, dawn light. And as you travel up the falls, just sort of the majesty of it all but overtakes you as you get into this laminar flow section, past where it is being blown apart by the winds. You are traveling up sort of the face of it, and you can see that the way that the flow is within it, it actually is even making sort of some of the grain that you see in a well-made sword. That the Dwarven swordsmiths, when they fold the metal hundreds, sometimes 1,000 times, creates this grain that you see that sort of shimmering within the water itself as you climb higher and higher. And as you reach sort of the top of the falls and now are level with where it sort of spills over, you see this central rocky spire with a tree on top, sort of making the hilt and the pommel stone. And there is a smooth sort of oblong lake just beyond sort of the edge and lip of the falls. From this angle, you can see even more so how dragons would call it the sword, because this all but makes the guard across the top, this sort of oblong lake that flows down in it. As you moved across over the lake to this sort of valley that lies beyond, I do need everyone to make me a dexterity saving throw, as you do have to cross through these winds that swirl around this space. This is a group check, so
Yikes.
Halloran has a lot of practice flying. Maybe he has advantage on this.
certainly I would say in your they are known to soar. I would give you advantage on that.
Hell yeah, man.
Wow. Yeah. So, who else are we missing? 1, 2, 3.
I got a 21.
And you got a 21. So we got 3 successes and 3 failures. So as you pass through, and maybe it's the majesty of the falls itself, you all but forgot about what created the shattered illusion. The fact that there are these winds that whip around. and you quickly are buffeted, almost being tossed against the rocks. But between Biriana, Queda, and I would even say Baldir's almost reflexive use of his storm control makes a pocket for you, but not before there isn't a quick and close call of all of you sort of getting thrown to the side, narrowly avoiding the rocks. And you can see before you, just beyond sort of this hilt, lake, a green valley beyond. Like we were saying, you've got about 6 minutes, I would say. Lose a little bit of time because of the close call on the dexterity to sort of recover. Blown a little off course. What do y'all want to do as you see this barrel? Luckily you didn't drop the barrel. That would have been bad. But y'all planning on you want to land, or how do you want to do your approach? You see before you. You see.
It'd be easier to transport the barrels still flying for a bit, so we don't have to risk like dragging it along, or somebody actually physically having to touch it for now. Like basically just fly as low as we can while still keeping it out of bumping distance.
Yeah, that sounds good. And I would be following Duran's lead, seeing as he seems to have the tracker towards where we're going.
Bad things happen when I lead. But sure. I'll lead.
Okay.
Or you can tell us where to go. You don't have to be in front.
Ladies and gentlemen, our navigators.
Yeah.
So from where we are right now, we still can't see Shimandala anywhere. Is that it?
No, you just see a giant sort of valley stretching off in front of you, sort of curving a little bit around to the northeast. So to your right.
Okay.
So it's not just a straight shot sort of valley. But as you sort of cross over, you're above the lake and begin to fly forward. As you get past the lake and sort of over this green, narrow valley that's just sort of filled with highland meadow that stretches out before you. To either side, about, I'd say, half mile to a third mile from side to side in width. There are these cliffs and these huge sort of granite outcroppings that border the valley floor as it curves around, to the northwest to your left. You see below you sort of these long green grasses that sort of bend in these buffeting breezes that sort of blow across it, sort of making those shimmering waves across these fields. You can see below you sort of the path of the river, easily to point out and to see from sort of the long sort of cattails and marsh grasses that grow up along its banks, and spotted here and there these long graceful willow trees that sort of drag their limbs down in the waters. It is breathtaking. Every instinct tells you that your heart should just be like leaping in exuberance and emotions swelling just at the sheer beauty and majesty of this place. But it is the exact opposite. There is this wave as you pass over the grasslands of deep sadness and this sort of weary sorrow that just washes over all of you. It is as though every majestic peak down to the tiniest of wildflower just carries this heartbreaking memory of joy that once was, but now is lost. Baldir, you notice Biriana turn ashen white.
Captain. Haven't seen that look for some time. Is everything okay?
She looks around to all of you. Do you not feel it? The terror. The fear. As you look at her closer, her eye, like the whites of her eyes are showing, and there's not a lot that scares Biriana. Something has affected her badly. And you've seen this before with creatures that have almost magical fear type effects. Doesn't feel like it's anything that you had to resist yourself, but Biriana is scared.
Quick look around, quick sensing the surroundings. Any whiff of something? Any?
Roll me a perception check.
Sure.
I'll give you advantage, as I know you've got a high passive as well.
Gotcha. Oop, that's a nature. Sorry, clicked the wrong thing. Let me
No
do this real
worries.
quick.
On a 24, other than this sorrow, you do not see any threats.
Does the feelings that we are feeling match up with what with Kato and Otrek kind of diving into the history of the draconic, the word? Does that kind of match up with what we are feeling?
Yes, very much so.
So Kato would probably assume that we are in the correct place. I don't necessarily know what may be affecting you this way, but what we are feeling tends to line up with the roots of the word in which we are looking for. I believe we are in the right place.
Bira just sort of looks to you, especially Kato. You do not feel threatened. You don't feel... She's looking around. I mean, Kato, he knows, fear.
Yeah, not any more so than usual, unfortunately. I wish that I could comprehend what's going on.
What are all of you feeling? What are you feeling? Nothing in this place. You said it lines up with the word, the name, the draconic.
Death and dread, sorrow. This is a very heavy place, which is rather jarring given how beautiful it is.
And she sort of looks at you. But the betrayal. All of that, but to be betrayed.
I wonder if maybe your connection perhaps to Jin Surat, maybe you're feeling something akin to the scale that you're looking for. I don't believe that any of us are feeling necessarily betrayed.
Yeah, Queta kind of nods along with what Kato's saying aloud. The the kind of night shade, the echo, and the belt were kind of connected to war and feelings of anger and like malice and things like that. Is there any change in the effect of the echo as it helps to move the shard?
Not that you can ascertain. And I would say, sort of as you all are discussing this with Biriana, your fly spell is going to dissipate, and that you'll need to make a decision about landing. She actually sort of starts to notice herself drift lower. I'm at the end of my spell.
Would you like to land, Captain?
I'd like to run. This is all but overwhelming. But we have work to do. I know that. I know that. I know that.
Kato will reach out and kind of, as they're slowly diving, and to kind of just take his hand in her claws and just kind of give her a little squeeze. That's all I can really do.
And the dice help with the rolls, even with disadvantage. It seems to comfort Biriana, and she grabs onto Kato, her dearest friend, who has always been the voice of caution and reason. And it calms her as you all set foot in this valley, sort of between the mountains and the course of the river. Duran, your medallion is still pointing up the valley and upriver.
A bit further to go we still have, it seems.
Much farther, if there's an educated guess.
I know the direction.
Fair.
Also, Shimandala mentioned that they were betrayed by the Verdant Shadow.
Speaking of Shimandala, since we're all here, I do not think they are doing well. I scryed Fitz last night, and the wing beats, compared to Jinsarat, were erratic, stunted, slowing. They were not over any land yet, so I can only suppose if we have not seen them, we are still ahead. Or they're coming from a separate direction, but that wouldn't make sense.
Is that good?
No. Fitz did mention that Shimandala might be sick. We're beginning to wonder if that has anything to do with the shard's corruption, and maybe when Shimandala tried to retrieve the shard themselves. This is all speculation, however. Just something to think about. I do not think that Shimandala is going to be in the best of health when we see them. I don't know if
Problem
this
at a
has
time.
anything to do with what Biriana was feeling, but things to know. In the meantime, if we need to windwalk, that is something that we can do. Somebody would just have to volunteer for the shard. I'm the least combat effective. Halran knows how to heal. I don't have a problem doing it.
Halron has stayed in falcon form, which is why he hasn't really said anything since we took off. But he'll raise a claw, I guess, having landed as the group did, and point at the net.
Ah, the netting in your claws. Are you strong enough to...
Oh yeah.
Giant falcon, yeah.
I would say it's basically a giant eagle, so he can carry a person, and the barrel's not heavier than a person. I mean, it's probably 80 pounds, but it's not, you know.
Well, why didn't you carry them?
We just do
why
this
didn't you
to
carry them
begin
to Mordor?
Guys, he didn't offer,
We had to
and
get
I
up
didn't want to.
somehow.
I didn't want to plant anything in your brains.
Gee, thanks. Could have used that
We still
spell
had-
slot.
We still had to get up somehow.
And you know what? 3 of us had a really good time team building. It was a fun game that we made out of. Okay?
It's true. It's true.
And honestly, with my failed dexterity saving throw, it's probably a good thing. We would have dropped it back down into the water.
Well, that could've
Oh,
been a good time.
this is perfect because the thought of that terrified me.
So, what's the plan? To move up valley?
Before we do anything, we're still like near the water, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I'd say, I just sort of dropped you down, but basically I would say sort of the hilt, the lake that sort of forms the hilt, this smooth, clear lake is behind you. Over to your, over to your right side is the river, sort of winding up valley, and you're sort of in this meadow, this sort of alpine meadow type idea.
Can I just go up to the river and like put a claw in and see if I can sense how far the river goes?
Roll me a charisma saving throw, just because I know that's basically your spellcasting modifier plus your proficiency.
Nope, that's a 2. So 10.
Round the river bend.
Yep. Truly, as long as it's not a 1, because it is... You will get no sense of the distance at all. But it's like because I've described it this way before, it's almost the same as when you reconnected with Shimandala and touched down in the Cerulean Sea. But it is not that same fathomless power that you feel from Shimandala. It is entirely foreign to you, but it is that sort of balm feeling you felt when emerging your consciousness into the water in the larger river. It is far more concentrated here because you have direct experience, probably not enough to cleanse a shard, just but this does not seem to be diluted by the entirety of the river. That from this tributary of this river, without all the other sort of normal water flowing into it, this seems to be a far purer source of those magics that you felt and Duran felt being exerted by the river.
I am gonna fill my water skin, whatever.
Yeah.
Full of this river, just for fun.
Okay. And like I said, you are able to do that without any issue whatsoever. I mean, there's almost a euphoria being in contact with this water that comes over you, and you even more so than the balm that it felt like it was before. It's almost addictive. The feeling of peace and lack of aches, pains, that corruption, basically, that's been nested in your bones almost seems to leave your mind. Doesn't feel like it's gone, but before it was soothed, this is feels like suppressed.
Yeah, definitely taking some of that with me. I'll report back to everyone. Don't know how far we have to go, but we're getting closer.
Queta's been stewing on a thought after Kato explained that Shimandala's wing beats are kind of in rough shape, and she decides to throw it out in the open. Just curious, Kato, you mentioned if Shimandala could still be traveling here, is it possible that he could perhaps just meet us here instead of us having to move any further?
I believe that if he wanted to meet us somewhere closer, he wouldn't have asked us to come here. They wouldn't have asked us to come here.
They. Apologies. I suppose you're right. It was just a thought.
Otherwise, we could have met them at sea.
There's likely a reason, and sometimes that reason is I wish not to piss off something far larger than myself.
Well, shall we press on?
So, walking with
On
Halran.
foot.
Oh, there you go.
On foot, in air, quickly.
Well, if our eagle can carry the shard, fast as we can go, I would assume would be with your wind walking.
If that's something that people wish to do, otherwise we can walk. I am.
Well, I think the sooner that we get this shard over, the sooner we can meet back with the crew. And I just have a bit of an inkling that the crew would like to see us back sooner rather than later. No reason in particular.
A very large reason. It's called the reef. I don't deny that in any way, shape, or form. If windwalking's what people want, then Kato will pluck a bead off of his necklace. Sorry, words are hard. Necklace, and will individually let everyone turn into the gaseous forms until it is just Kato and Biriana remaining on the ground. Like he's still waiting to cast it. Biriana, is this something that you are all right with?
She sort of squeezes your hand. We won't be able to touch, correct? We'll be, as you've done this before, just clouds, right?
We will be two clouds, smushed together almost uncomfortably.
What if the fear takes me and I run?
Well, then you will have a very fearful cloud running after you. And that alone should help banish that fear, because if I can do it, you can too.
In Biriana's head, because I have telepathy, she'll hear, if that happens, Return to the ship, and we will see to the matters here.
She shakingly nods her head. I don't want to leave this to you, but there's a possibility I may be more of a liability than help. I will try. And she just looks right into Cato's eyes. As you so often have stayed by my side, I will try to stay by yours. Do it.
Iriana, that's the same thing I said to you for this venture itself. We will try together, and they will...
Okay. You all begin moving up the valley. I'm assuming pacing with as the Falcon's flight. So what's your fly speed?
Sorry, I'm pulling up the stat block now.
No problem. Yeah, Giant Eagle is... Yeah,
That's,
yeah.
80 feet.
80 feet? Okay. So, not as fast as Cloud, as Windwalk is, but certainly making good speed. As you move deeper into the valley, you are flying forward. It quickly, first hour passes, a second hour. The scale of this place is very deceptive. As you are making good time, but time is still passing fairly quickly until it is almost midday. You had started out basically at dawn, and by nearly midday, you are, from what you can see of the valley, sort of this straight section that then curves off. You've made it about halfway, maybe a little further than that far when midday arrives. I believe Windwalk lasts for 8 hours, correct? Okay. So you're about 4 hours into it, still making your journey. Not a lot changes. This meadow seems to be deserted. Whatever wildlife might have inhabited, whatever sort of natural fauna that you would have thought would have been in this place, whatever is inducing those feelings in you seems to make it inhospitable to many of the animals that might venture into this place. And with your help, Biriana's going to make another saving throw, not at disadvantage because of your speech. I will consider it the help action. On a 22, she's able to keep up with you. You can even tell in the cloud form, however, there is that fear and almost a suspicious wariness about her, as though something is ready to ambush or attack. This idea of betrayal seems to have stuck in her mind and sort of is churning there. You all continue onward. And much as the day before, after another 3.5 hours, approaching the end of your spell, you see this now moving from the 3/4 moon to a full moon, sort of that afternoon moonrise. So the sun is still up or just barely dipping below the high peaks of that are at the valley's edge, and this moonlight is coming up, beginning to shine. The height and narrowness of the valley sort of making twilight arrive earlier, because you're deep in the shadows of the mountain. And as this twilight approaches, your path through the valley sort of has taken you close to one of these towering outcroppings of rock, as the valley does finally sort of make that turn that you had spotted far in the distance this morning. And as you traverse around it, the end of this valley is revealed. There before you is a massive dragon skeleton, nearly equal in size to that of Jin Sarat. The light of this already risen moon, even in these early moments of twilight, plays off of the bones, causing the platinum within them to shimmer with this ethereal glow. The skeleton itself is curled into a nearly fetal position, conveying this sense of just unimaginable vulnerability and pain. And that even at its massive scale, it just looks heartbreakingly pitiful. Its legs drawn up, its tail curled around itself, talons, hands clutching its chest. The fine wing bones arrayed in such a way that belie how the dragon was hiding themselves beneath their wings, sort of shielding themselves and their head from whatever pain the world had held for them. Around the skeleton, the earth seems to have reached out and all but molded itself in sort of to this embrace of this fallen dragon and its remains. Granite and crystal, by means other than geologic, some other primal forces have begun to sort of embrace this skeleton as though wrapping it up like a babe in swaddling clothes. A crystalline tower has formed behind the skull, sort of holding it in almost like a gentle caress. From its apex, a spring spills water down over its surface and across the skull, where it sort of cascades over these empty eye sockets and down the face, forming the river that's the source of the Broken Blade Falls. As you arrive at Volkulran.
Are we still gas?
At this point, you are still gassed, but you are right at the tail end of it.
All right. If I summoned the echo right now, would it also be gas?
I don't think you would be able to summon the echo in this state.
All right. In that case, I think Queta is just gonna. She'll be taken by the sight, of course, but she'll also kind of, seeing such a creature of grand power, its remains here, she'll maybe make an Arcana check just to see if that contributes to how the island has become the way it has.
Go ahead and give me an Arcana check. On a 13, I mean, there's definitely magical forces at work here beyond anything you've encountered before.
Oh dear, it's okay. I mean, and maybe Ace, you tell me. I want to get a sense of Duran here. Like, what is Duran's reaction to this? And like, we've been following your lead, and this is, I don't know, is your Geiger meter like off the charts right now? How are you processing this?
There's a lot going on. So I think that coming up to this site, Duran would probably go ahead and, since everyone can individually do this, would go ahead and like land and
Yeah.
turn back into a solid form.
Yeah, I
And
would say,
there's-
just letting you know, you are probably still a good half-mile away because of the side. This is just your first turning the corner, so you're not right up on the site yet.
Yeah, there's a lot going on through Duran's face. You said this was the size of Jinsarat?
Correct. Not the size of Shimandala by far.
Right. So I guess the things that are going through mine and Duran's head are like, who was this? What is this place? How does it all fit together? Why are we here specifically? And where is Shimandala? So there's just all of that probably etched across his face. And looking, I guess, to the sky around him, scanning to see if he can make out any.
Roll a perception check.
Where's my D4? I'm gonna add it to it, because that wasn't great.
Oh, that's good. 15.
15, the skies are fairly clear as this sort of twilight begins to set over this place. You do not see any signs of something the size of Shimandala winging their way in.
Is it safe to say that as Duran is kind of pitching down with their cloud, that we're all kind of following suit?
Certainly, absolutely, whatever you would like. You tell me.
Yeah, no, I think Kato would probably try to urge the Biryana cloud down as well.
She's going to need to make one more wisdom saving throw. On a 16, she hesitates, but does not run, and barely makes the save to land with you.
I think I'd like to try scrying Fitz again
Okay.
to see where they're at.
Go ahead and roll me that wisdom. There you go. On a 27, you still feel the wing beats, the motion, the forward motion, but I would say they feel stronger than they did last night. But you see land, but you do not see any geology that looks like this place. But overland, making haste. They seem to still be in transit.
I think almost instinctively, like, Duran's kind of like gingerly just walking towards it, like drawn to it almost.
Okay.
So I don't know what everybody else is up to, but Duran's definitely continuing forward towards the base of the skull.
Halloran is circling above.
Okay. How long does your wild shape last? Because you probably would have had to burn a second one because we've been traveling for 8 hours.
Yeah, I burned the second one.
Yeah. Okay. Probably are you 4 hours each?
5 hours each, so I do still have some time now.
You still have some time. Good.
Yeah.
Duran begins to approach. Again, walking towards it. It's going to take a little bit to get there, but you certainly can begin your approach. Sort of.
I know it probably doesn't seem like I'm doing a lot of emoting, but like I just imagine Duron is just kind of like looking around, like this is wild.
This is a lot.
So, I mean, all that is to say, like, I think seeing you take in everything, seeing you kind of instinctively, I feel like probably just get dragged along, even like without fully realizing what's happening. Baldir will saddle up beside you and just kind of keep in step with you. Doesn't want to say much because he understands this is a sight to see. It's a sight for him to behold, let alone Duron. But I think he'll just kind of try to reassure you with he's brought us here. Well, he's brought you for a reason.
I'm not the only one on this journey.
One guiding the way for now.
Well, giving like a kind of sheepish glance backwards. Onward.
Viriana seems frozen, having just barely made her wisdom save. She has become corporeal again, but doesn't seem to be able to move forward. Who all is approaching? For those who are approaching, please roll me a wisdom saving throw.
Oh.
What do you got there, Duron? Natural one. For Kato and Halran, that sense of loss. I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, Kato's staying with Brianna.
Okay.
That's a previous role.
Gotcha. Thank you. So, Halran flying above, the sadness hits you as you sort of are keeping pace with Baldir and Queda and Duron. But sadness has been a part of your heritage. You lost your people ran away from their world. Loss is a familiar companion to many of your people. Even just your own loneliness in your travels before you came to the Whale's Whiskers. You are able to process it. Baldir, Duron, Queda. It overwhelms you. Any of the pain that you have been holding on to seems to resurface in your mind, whether it's of a home that you've not seen in centuries, whether it's the frustrations and feelings of, being left to try to swim to Shimandala on your own. For Queda, all of the experiences from in the Frostforge depths that made you feel so isolated just completely wash over you. And they take a toll. And you each take a level of exhaustion from the mental fatigue of being thrown into those places.
I think Queta's first reaction is to kind of falter and maybe double over for a little bit, but her echo would be behind her to help her back up
Okay.
and kind of just keep her steady and keep her pushing forward.
Probably very abruptly, Baldir comes to a halt and kind of seizes up a bit before like grabbing his head and kind of goes back to that like weird frozen state he was in back on the ship, and just like before begins mumbling a little bit to himself. It's probably hard to like pick out too much of what he's saying, but you do hear him start to say, gotta find the boy, gotta find Fetz. No, Fetz, forgot, like, my friends, my parent, no, how did I forget again? And if I forgot, could they have forgotten? No, like, just struggling with this whole memory lapse thing that he's never had to experience before.
Given Duron's century of isolation and loneliness and kind of bitterness about it all, I think he keeps moving.
Okay.
But there's probably, like, if as he's walking, some of the water is going to kind of collect up around him and form into that little bowstring, and that music that he emanates that's so sorrowful probably just starts to play as he keeps walking forward.
Okay. How about Baldir, Quato? Do you continue to move forward?
Yeah, I think he's just gonna kind of shake his head and start moving forward, catch his breath, and it's not their names, it's not their, it's Fitz, it's Auron. I know them. Not again. And he's just gonna kind of keep fighting through that and just kind of like think overly hard, like trying to over-memorize like everything again. Just the lapse in judgment and forgetting exactly who people are, or who, just kind of freaked him out. So kind of that confused, manic, like mumbling kind of turns more into like a repeated mantra of go on, remember. So yeah, he'll follow Duron.
Okay.
Queta, having been helped up by her echo, she kind of realizes again something that she had figured out soon after she had first tapped into the power of the belt and the nightshade, that at this point she really has become so much more powerful than anyone who attempted to subjugate her in the Frostforge depths, than any of those rogues and cartels that she was always on the run from. With that newfound power, that newfound control in mind, she's kind of able to steady herself, look around and see Duron and Baldir moving ahead, and say, what am I even scared of from them anymore? She just lets out a deep sigh and says, there are worse things to fear on this journey, aren't there? Just giving another look to the Echo, who had given her both grief, but also this newfound sense of power that she had kind of felt lacking, and thus made her hide before. And with that kind of reassurance and seeing everyone else press on, well, Duron and Baldir at least, she'll with the assistance of the echo, kind of be helped forward.
Okay. Cato, what are you up to? I mean, at this point, just for ease, you're probably around 300 or so feet away from this whole vignette before you. You see Duran, Baldir, Queta continuing to move closer, Halran circling overhead.
Kato's staying with Biriana.
Okay. I want you to roll me a wisdom. I'm not going to do a check. I want you to do a wisdom check, not a saving throw. On a 21. Being a cleric, even though it is in the scientific realms, there is a familiar feeling of all but hollowed ground to this place, and certainly where the skeleton lies. I would say Duran, Baldir, Halran, Queta, Baldir, Duran, probably about 100 or so feet away. Halran above, you weren't affected as much by this. Anything specific you're doing other than circling above?
Halran is thinking about putting down the barrel and has picked out a spot about halfway between Duran, Baldir, and Queta, and then Cato and Biriana towards the back, but for now is keeping an eye on things.
So are you staying sort of above, at this point you're still sort of carrying the barrel sort of above Baldir, Queta, and Duran?
Yeah. I'd say they're probably a little farther ahead than Halran, who's makes a loop back, and watches the other two as well.
Okay.
Before.
Duran, you're sort of leading this parade. Anything particular you would like to do? Or just keep on being drawn in?
Yeah, at least until we get to the base of the dragon's remains.
Okay.
Or Shimandala shows up, I guess.
As you move forward, there is a shimmering in the air in front of you. As a dark spirit apparates in your path. A black, dragonborn creature, ghostly in its shape. It looks at all of you and screams, "Don't touch her!" and lets out this wail. I need Baldir, Queta, Duran, and Halran to make me Constitution saving throws.
Finally, what I'm good at.
17.
Yep. So, I'm sorry, you had a 17?
Yep.
Okay. So, Queta I need to get the advanced roller out. Queta, you take 22 points of psychic damage from this scream from this dark specter. Halran. I'm sorry, Baldir. You take the 22 points as well. Halran and Duran. You drop to 0 hit points and go unconscious from the wail of this banshee. Halran, you fall to the ground. What do we say how high you were flying?
80 feet.
Really? Okay.
I mean, that's the honest answer.
Yeah. Go ahead and mark off 2 deaths.
So do I fall to 0 wild shape hit points?
Wild shape. So that'd be
okay. Cool. Thank heavens.
So you fall, but you are falling, and now you, as Halron, take 28 points of bludgeoning damage as you slam into the ground. As this is in fact a banshee, and I need all of you to roll initiative, please.
Real quick, I mean, so had the shard been placed down? Did we decide on that?
No, shard was still in its thing, so it falls, hits the ground.
Is there any way I can act, or no, not at all, in the time it takes for it to fall?
You are taking 22 points of psychic damage. What are you trying to do?
I just want to cast Levitate when it gets in range, so I can very gently put it down so it doesn't just smash into the ground and potentially somehow get worse to carry.
Roll me a Constitution saving throw to see whether you can concentrate on Levitate to cast the spell.
God bless, man.
Can Kato see what's happening?
Yeah, absolutely. You would be able to see it. You are, like I say, you're about 300, probably 250 feet back from this specter that has appeared.
As when the specter appears and as Halran begins to fall, can Kato try to intercept, since Halran specifically mentioned they were going to want to put the barrel down between the crew and Biriana and Kato?
Well, if we go with that, you're 300 feet back. They were about 80 feet back, so that puts you 220 feet from them. Even halfway in between, it'd be about 110 feet away from you. Do you have something that could intercept at 110-foot range?
Let me see what I got.
I lost my track. There it is.
The banshee ate up all the music.
Did eat up all the music.
No, I don't. I don't have anything.
Okay, so unfortunately, no.
Okay.
So, again, you can click on your tokens and click initiative. Little heads up. Biriana needs to roll. Oh, you know what?
Also, can we take a bio break before
Yeah,
we start?
actually, that's what I was going to do. Is I was going to have us roll initiative and then take our break. So,
I didn't click on my token because I didn't see it there. I'll do that again, but I got an 18.
So, folks, we'll be right back as we get into the combat with this guardian of the Volcaron. We'll see you in just a moment or two. And we are back, folks. And our group has just rolled initiative because they, when approaching the grave site, the resting place of a large primordial dragon, seemed to have awakened its guardian, a shadowy dragonborn specter that let out an ear-piercing wail that has taken some of our party out of wild shape, done some damage, and for Duran is at 0 hit points and unconscious. Duran, we're going to start with you. Hold that thought. Duran. As this wail hits you, it slams into your body, and very Doctor Strange-esque, you feel yourself separated out from your body. And in the ethereal plane, you've been knocked unconscious before. This is different. You don't see the specter any longer, and where the form and skeleton of this platinum dragon was, you see an ethereal platinum dragon curled up in the same pose as the skeleton, but seemingly frozen inside a block of crystal. You, taking in your surroundings, realize that around your feet seems to be crystal, trapping them and locking you in place about 25 feet from where you, as creatures who enter the ethereal plane often do, where you can see that your body lies unmoving. Do not roll me a death saving throw. What would you like to do?
Well, it's a good thing you didn't ask me to roll a death save, because I rolled a 1. I'm gonna go. I guess. Am I trapped in this crystal? Can I move? I'm gonna walk up. Yeah, try to approach this platinum dragon.
Break out of this, I need you to make me a strength check, please.
Oh. Hey, I had to roll good at some point. That's an 18.
I claim you have. Don't you have a level of exhaustion?
I was gonna say we're all rolling checks at disadvantage.
Well, that makes it an 8.
You are unable to break out of this crystal.
Okay. How far is this dragon from me?
It's probably 80 to 90 feet.
Okay. Can't break out. So I just see a spectral platinum dragon, correct?
Encased in basically like a crystal vault.
All right. A long shot here. It was probably my action to try and break out, though.
Yes.
Oh, can I use a bonus action to Misty Step out?
Yeah, I'll let you do that.
Awesome.
Go ahead and roll me a charisma check just to see how it goes.
Oh.
So
a
this would be
charisma check is a 19.
on a 19. So yeah, when your strength fails, you use your willpower to break yourself out of this crystal, sort of leaving it behind, and misty step 60 feet, correct? So
30.
30 feet.
30 and then movement and then yeah.
So you can you've already used your action, so you can get yourself, you're about 30 feet away from this crystalline vault.
I want to try and speak to it with my telepathy.
Okay, what do you say?
Who are you? And why are you so sorrowful? What has happened here?
Roll me a persuasion check.
Wait, I get to do something that oh, no, I don't. I have deception, not persuasion. Yeah, but it's a disadvantage. Oh, okay. That's a 22.
On a 22, you hear a voice back in your head. I am Valaris. Why do you come to this place? And with that, we're going to move back into the rest of our folks. Queta.
Thanks for letting me use that 16.
You're welcome.
So Queta right now is 60 feet away, right?
Yes. No. Yes. 60 feet away from the specter, not from the skeleton.
From the specter.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Queta's kind of holding her head after that nasty headache that psychic damage brought on. Can I use a bonus action after preparing an action?
What are you wanting to do?
I'm gonna prepare Warding Wind. If I see it's gonna try and yell again.
Okay. Yeah. No. You can do Warding Wind. I believe that is only for like missile weapons, though. I'm not sure if it would, unless there's something that I missed with Warding Wind.
It deafens yourself and all creatures within its area.
Okay.
Of
No.
effect.
Absolutely. That would work.
Yeah. She would also like to use her bonus action to activate her. Boots. They're just called Boots of Speed. Okay.
Just because we've been playing fast and loose with your Echo, if you're going to use your Echo for combat, I'm going to say you're going to need to actually put it in combat mode, because it doesn't really work the way we've been using it, that it's sort of up around and walking with you. So I like you having that flavor, but so let's still make it that like you would do, that in combat you use it like the Echo, so you would have to take, I believe it's a bonus action to activate your Echo.
Yeah, so it's a bonus action to still summon.
Yeah.
So that's fine.
To transform it into its combat mode, we'll say.
Yeah, that's fine. And it wasn't out. Oh, I guess it was kind of out, but that's fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of dormant at the moment.
Well, and again, you don't have to use your bonus action for that. I'm just saying if you're wanting to,
Yeah, because right now, my plan is to just get close.
Okay.
So Queta's plan is to just get close. So she's going to use the Boots of Speed as her bonus action, which doubles her movement.
Okay.
And she will move her movement speed of 50 feet toward the Banshee.
Yep, that brings you all the way up to Severa. The Banshee.
All right. And she, I guess she'll just kind of keep herself in a defensive position, watching the mouth and waiting for another scream to come.
Okay. Baldir, you're up.
Sure. I'm so sorry. I was trying to figure out what the hell to do. How far away? Would
Y'all
I be
are
from the
60
Banshee?
feet away from the Banshee.
Oh, dope. That's
Yeah, about
perfect.
90 feet away from the skeleton.
Awesome. Then I think Baldir is actually going to remain in place, a little shaken by what just happened, just the pain of that, and also screwing up his levitate. That doesn't feel good. But he will actually just kind of like hold his hands to the side and basically call out in the Banshee's direction. And how I see it, basically breaking this up, kind of repeating the phrases, the first in Draconic, and then just repeating it in Primordial, and basically yell out, saying like, we mean no disrespect or harm to your master. We were summoned here. Please, we come peacefully. And I'm actually just gonna save any further effect for now, or any further decision. Basically hoping to react in some way here if things go south, which they probably will.
Okay, roll me a persuasion check. Again, I believe you have exhaustion.
Sorry, taking a second.
No problem.
Oh, come on. So 13.
So on a 13, you do not see any reaction from this specter as you call out in both languages to try to convince them. Halran, you are prone on the ground with 28 points of damage. The barrel has cracked. The lead container inside is bumped up, but basically the outer barrel has completely shattered. The salt sort of spreading around you, and you see those sort of crystalline corruption fullerettes, sort of that have emanating off of the barrel.
But the lead container, to the best of my... Okay.
Best you can tell, it seems to be intact.
Good. Then in that case, I will stand up and... Ace, would you say that I can tell that Duran is not dying? Or Tall, both of you?
Yeah, no, I would... It
Am
is,
I dead? I don't know.
Yeah,
You didn't roll
see,
saving throw.
Right, but the player knows that. Halran
Yeah.
absolutely does not know that. It, for all apparent indications, your friend is lying on the ground dying, as you have seen that happen, previously.
Yeah, then I will cast Heal on Duran, which is just 70 hit points.
Yep, you cast it. There seems to be no effect.
Okay, fair enough. Finding that disconcerting, Halran is going to follow Baldir's lead and in Draconic, with, I assume, some sort of an accent, will tell the Banshee that we will not touch her.
Roll me a persuasion check. Do me a favor, roll me a second time.
Sure.
Okay. You see him turn towards you, acknowledging what you have said, and then sees the barrel. You see their eyes go to the barrel, and you see this just seething hatred sort of flow off of its form.
Fair enough. That takes me to the end of my turn, then.
Kato, about 250 feet away. Biriana, you don't know what Biriana's going to do.
That's cool. I know what she's gonna do. I am going to cast. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Because I kept this for Kato, if I ever needed it. Kato's going to cast Calm Emotions.
Ooh, love it. What's the range on that? It's everything you can see, right, or something?
It is a 60 feet by 20 feet, so it will only get me and Biriana.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
But so long as I maintain concentration, up to 1 minute, which is typically combat, as long as she lets me, like she can fail the throw,
Oh, absolutely.
and she will be able to suppress any effect causing a target to be charmed or frightened.
Smart play. Okay.
And Kato as well. So this being said, Kato is going to start running. And I assume that will just be 30 feet closer to the group because he's seen Halran fall to the ground and Duran fall to the ground, and yep. And that's his turn.
Perfect.
It was literally like a snap cast and then just running into the fray.
This specter sees Queda right there in front of it, and so let's see. Is going to point its finger at Halran as Halran has gotten its attention. I need you to make me a wisdom saving throw. Ah, damn it, I targeted the druid. Shit. Woo. You take 15 points of psychic damage as just this anguish fills you. Oh, nope. As this anguish fills you, and you are able to shake it off from it completely sort of overwhelming you. But you still do take the 15 points of psychic damage. And then it's going to make its 2 attacks on Quaid. 14, I'm betting, doesn't hit.
14 does not.
And a 24?
A 24 does.
For 12 slashing plus 9 necrotic damage. As this blade swings sort of, and you duck underneath of it, and then sort of comes in the back slash of it and catches you on your arm and just slices it open, and you sort of feel this coldness sort of seep into your flesh. That is their turn.
We said we weren't here to hurt you.
Biriana sort of sees... feels the calm wash over her, sees Kato running towards a fight, and runs to catch up. I'm sorry, I was out of it. What's the play?
Duran's down. Halran fell from the sky, and Queda is becoming a pincushion. The play is to get closer.
Got it. And so she's going to go ahead and use the dash action to go ahead and get 30 feet closer, and is going to throw a bardic inspiration at taking your advice at Queda. So it's a D8. D8? D10. I know I have to check every damn time. D10. Bardic inspiration that you can use on any D20 roll, and that is Biriana's turn. Back to Duran. Duran, on the ethereal plane, you get this answer. But nothing more. Just a name.
They asked me a question, didn't they? What we're doing here?
Yes.
I think it's. I've forgotten since my last turn.
Why have you come? Yeah.
Right. I guess I'll kind of keep moving closer and then, like, sort of sit at the base of the skull, and just kind of, like, tilt my head up a little bit and say, my patron asked us to come here. Their name is Shimandala. Does that mean anything to you?
Roll me a persuasion check.
That's a 13. Can I still be exhausted if I'm dead?
Yep, sure can, because it's again, like I said, it's emotional and mental exhaustion. The dragon just sighs. I care not for the troubles of the living. They violate this place of my lament and my sorrow. They will find a bitter welcome.
Will you tell me what happened? I would like to know.
Roll me a persuasion check.
Okay. Oh! Okay. That's a 21.
Almost familiar sigh.
I see we're kindred spirits.
I betrayed he who I loved. And we will go back to the Prime Plane.
Sucker for a good love story.
Queda, you are up in this specter's face.
We don't mean it any harm. I heard that correctly? She's still waiting to hear.
Y'all can answer. I mean, we'll a little table talk.
That was our hope, but yeah, I'd say you can go ahead.
Queda is still gonna hold out. She says, "We really didn't come to cause any sort of stir. So, I just want you to consider that." Is that my action?
If you want to try to persuade them, and more than just idle chat, yes, it would be your action. Or again, you can hold your action. You can have that not be a to try to do a persuasion and hold your action to get ready to do wind ward if they seem like they might be ready to scream.
Yeah, I think I'll leave that to everyone else then. I'll keep holding for wind wall, and I will. If my math is right, then it should still be like 5 feet away from me, right? Because I walked up 50, but it was 60 away.
Yep, it does seem to have a bit of reach with its sword.
Well, I guess Queta will just walk straight up. Doesn't even need to bother with reach.
Okay.
And that'll be all, just so it can't do any funny business with everyone else.
Okay.
It's just...
So you just sort of saddle up your dwarven form, being towered over by this specter who's probably a good 10 and a half feet tall, sort of dripping with this sort of dark energy. Baldir, you are up.
Yeah, it's probably the bad play, but I'm gonna roll on this again and just yell out again and say, fear and regret and death linger about this place. Permeate it deeply. We wish to add no more to it. Please, help us understand what has happened and why we must be here now.
Roll me a persuasion check.
Disadvantage again.
I'm gonna let you. Because that was pretty compelling. I'll give you it. I'll say you had advantage, so you have a flat roll.
Oh man, I cannot roll. Dang.
On a 16, it doesn't look at you like with the venom that it did at Hallran, but it doesn't seem to immediately show you malice.
Yeah, gotcha. And once again, I'll hold any like further, just for a reaction here.
Yep. Hallran, you're up.
I cast darkness on the barrel
Okay.
so that it can no longer see it. And will... Does it still seem to be bleeding hatred for me because of the whole barrel thing?
It does not seem to be happy with you. It does have a small dwarf, basically sidled up with it right now. So a little bit of a split attention, but certainly because it can't see the barrel doesn't necessarily mean it forgot the barrel. It does seem to have some intelligence to it. There is obviously intelligence and emotion driving this creature.
I can't cast anything else because I cast darkness. I will walk 10 feet closer and end my turn.
Okay, you sort of see it tense up as you are getting closer.
Oh. Then I walk like 5 feet closer and then back up again, probably.
Okay, that's fine. I would say its body language is easy to read. It is very much protecting this this skeleton, and very much in a stance to not let anyone near it.
Sure. So then, Howard will take a couple steps forward, and then as he sees that immediate, snap attention towards him, tensing up, backs off a little bit, and then I'll pass the turn.
Okay. It is going to point its finger at Queta this time. I need you to make me a wisdom saving throw.
Is this a spell? Is there any way I can tell this is a spell?
It does not seem to be a spell.
Okay.
It seems to be sort of in the psionics realm. It's On a 19, you take 8 points of psychic damage as. I'm sorry, what?
It's just like pointing down at me like I'm a red button it's about to press.
Yeah. And basically, does as you sort of feel this just anguish, that same loneliness. I totally skipped Kato. I am so sorry. We'll go back after we finish with this, and you end up taking 8 points, of psychic damage as you sort of are able, having felt this before, somewhat shake off those feelings of loneliness and despair. Kato, I am so sorry. I completely jumped by you.
It's super okay. I don't remember how far I am. I took 30 feet.
30 feet, you were 250 feet, so you're still a good 210 feet away.
Yeah, so we're gonna dash. That's 60.
Yep. So that gets you about 150 feet away from
from everybody.
That's from the Spectre. So you have Baldir and Halran, who are, I believe, were 30 feet away or so. They were.
Okay.
I don't think either one of you have moved forward because you step forward and step back. So 60 feet away. So that's 60 feet closer to you. So they're 90 feet away from you.
Okay. All right. That's all Kato can do.
Yep. Biriana continues to charge forward, and let me see what her range is. I think she's in the same situation you're in. Yeah, she does not have.
All I need is 60 feet.
Yeah.
And then we're good.
So she's going to go ahead, and I believe she's 30 feet in front of you. She's doing her 60 feet as well. So she is at 60 feet, but she used her action to get there. So that is Biriana. However, on her bonus action, she's going to give advantage to Halran. She doesn't know what to say. She just gives advantage. I'm going to keep my mouth shut because I don't want to give anything away by me trying to add too much color. So, yeah.
Sorry, advantage or inspiration?
Inspiration, I'm sorry. Giving you inspiration, so D10.
The D10, thanks.
Yep. She just yells, "Keep him talking, maybe? I don't know." Duron. So I keep going back and forth between what's happening there and here.
Out of just curiosity, can this Banshee not see me?
You don't see the Banshee here.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah, you are alone in this place. There is no Banshee here, or Dark Spectre here at all.
I'll just patiently, which is ironic for Duran, wait for Valaris, was that right?
Valaris, yes.
To continue its story?
We were going to be together. We had explored this world on our wings for centuries. And Savarin wanted to follow the path of others of our kind, become like you, to go through the ritual. But my zeal for learning kept stalling. So when we finally went, when he convinced me, when I thought I was ready, while the ritual transformed him. It did not work on me.
Intentionally?
I don't know, but I can't be sure. I know I doubted. And it's me who doomed us to be apart now, even though we tried to stay together. We traveled together still. He becoming a great warrior. Me continuing my studies in healing. But I couldn't heal. Nature that had taken root in him.
He had changed?
He was mortal.
Yes, we tend to do that.
Time affected him, unlike our kind, my kind. He began to wither.
Why do you call this a betrayal?
Because it is my fault. I put my desire for my own knowledge and my own zeal to continue to travel further and find more in front of all he wanted was for us to be together, to live under the mountain. But I couldn't accept that. I wasn't content to know that I was so stupid. It's all my fault, it's all my fault, it's all my fault. And they just keep repeating that. I betrayed him. I didn't know it was my fault. It was my fault. It was all my fault. And you almost see them, even though they're sort of encased in this crystal, seem to shrink into themselves.
What happened when Savarin died?
Roll me a persuasion check.
Okay.
As direct as this is, you still have the disadvantage on this.
Yep, I figured. Yep. 18?
She stops muttering, but does not immediately answer.
That's fair.
And we will move back outside. So, Quato, what are you up to?
Yeah, Queta is trying to shake off that headache. The just like the sadness that just keeps sweeping over her,
Okay.
which she can now tell is the direct result of this banshee.
Yes.
She kind of puts aside casting warding wind for the moment. She says, uh, uh, we didn't even know this was here. We are actually here for something entirely different, and it had nothing to do with that one over there. I'm telling you this so you know that we mean no harm. I'd like to roll a persuasion check. If I present this as like the cold hard facts of the situation, can I roll it with intelligence instead?
Sure. I'll let you do it.
It just adds another one to it, so it's like, but you gotta get them where you can. So, is this at disadvantage still?
If you have exhaustion, yes.
Yeah, because I did get exhausted. So it would be. I'm just gonna roll 2d20 and then add my score to it. So.
Yeah.
That's such a shame. So that would be a 7.
Yeah. Roll me a wisdom saving throw at disadvantage for me, please.
Cool.
Oof. On a natural 1.
May I indomitable that?
Remind me what Indomitable's wording exactly is.
When you fail a saving throw, you can re-roll it.
Oh, is it flat out? Okay, yeah, that's mechanics. I didn't know if there was anything special to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I have a D10, right?
You do have a D10. It's like claw it out. Oh.
Yikes.
It's not a direct attack on your mind. In fact, the cold logic seemed to get its attention. But then you feel a probing in your thoughts. And it looks at you and goes, "Liar. You art here to steal her memory." Baldir.
Don't know how to process this because Baldir's literally been living fears of stolen memories. So, what the hell, man? Baldir will approach.
I mean, you would have heard the specter say that about the memory. You're close enough.
Baldir will approach, let's say 20-ish feet. Not like run or anything, but just kind of start walking forward. And call out. Share with us her memory so that it may live on. And basically just kind of make no aggressive attacks, just approach casually here.
Okay.
And kind of beg it to engage with him.
Go ahead and give me a flat persuasion on that. As you are the idea of the memory being shared. 127.
Help me never forget.
The specter looks at you. Others have come to steal her bones, to take her away. Servants of the Dark One have visited here. You bring that, points to the darkness on the ground. Yet say you want to hear her memories, to save her memories. So it points its sword at you.
This dark presence. We've all felt it. And it's getting closer. What we have is a fragment. We're trying to understand. Now we can add to the bloodshed, or we can try to figure out how to stop it together.
Roll me a last persuasion check. On a 22. There is too much sorrow in this place. Pledge to me that you will not defile her. And we shall parley.
Baldir, with his hands still basically to his sides, will kind of bow his head and drop down to one knee. And simply, still kind of head lowered, just very subtle nod before returning the gaze with the banshee. I mean, doing his best to look extremely, extremely sincere in this vow.
And the specter sheathes their sword. Back in the ethereal plane. It is just silence. Doesn't seem to be any you're not getting any hint that they are going to volunteer anything more without hearing from you or without your help.
I must admit, there was a time not long ago where I wouldn't have cared at all about any of this. But I have learned in the travels with my friends that sometimes sharing burdens is the easiest way to alleviate them. I don't even know how I got here. But there must be a reason. So, if you will allow it, I would like to take on some of your sorrow.
Roll me a... Because I think you're opening yourself this way. I will allow you to use charisma. A charisma check on this flat roll.
Natural 20.
Nice. How can you take on a sorrow that fell the dragon?
It's not that anything that I do will lessen it, but by making myself available to you, I will allow you to express it, as I sense you have been alone here far longer than I was ever alone myself.
You asked what happened when he died. We spent our last century together in this valley. I tried everything. All of the healing I had learned over millennia. But there was no stopping time. And when he was gone, I was so utterly alone. I tried to venture out again, but I kept being drawn back to this place until I couldn't leave it any longer, and I became trapped in my own grief and my own sorrow. I would spend decades curled thusly, covering my head from the night and the day. I can hear him sometimes. It seems he's so close.
What if he is trapped here too?
I would have never wanted that for him. What would trap him here?
Maybe his desire to stay with you was just as strong as your desire to be with him in the end.
What do you want to roll me to make this point?
Ooh. I mean, I don't feel like Duron thinks he's lying, so I would say another persuasion check.
Okay.
Because I think even so, Duron, not smart, can put together 2 and 2. Huh, draconic person just knocked me unconscious and now I'm here. So I'm basically thinking that Duron recognizes that the dragonborn he saw is the one she's talking about.
Yeah, I would give you that.
Yeah. So persuasion then?
Yeah, go ahead and roll me a persuasion.
Can I beg for advantage?
I'll give you advantage on this.
Or I can use my inspiration.
There you go. Use your inspiration that you've never used.
That I have never used since last season.
I was gonna say it was because of your scene with this music, so it's kind of perfect.
Yeah. Oh! Natural 20 again!
Woot! You hear a crack as a huge fissure opens up within this crystal. And you see an ethereal dragon rise out of the crystal and look at you. Perhaps love does survive.
Now that you're free, do you sense him?
Oh my gosh, I have to let me roll.
It's a platinum dragon. Surely it's got like an amazing bonus to whatever you're rolling.
Yeah. Golly, I'm thinking. I think it's will. It's going to be a willpower to reach out, open themselves up. On a 17. Yes. I think I do. But we're still separate. And it sort of floats down this giant, massive head, almost reminiscent of when you were face to face with Shimandala, but a smaller scale. You were able to speak into my mind when I was sealed in the crystal and would not have been able to communicate otherwise. You don't belong here, but perhaps you can be our bridge.
I think Duron will just kind of like nod slowly.
You almost feel the pull with the thought of agreement towards your body, or just to be drawn back to it. Your choice to whether you move towards it or not. It is not a... You're not being drugged to your body, I should say.
I would be lying if I said part of Duron wants to stay. If I said that he didn't, you know what I meant?
Yeah.
Anyway, but he can't leave his friends alone.
Okay.
And so he'll go.
You go back, and as soon as you touch the prone, sort of glowing form, shape of your body lying on the ground, out in the real world, almost at the same time that the sword is being sheathed by the specter, you hear Duron gasp. And that is where we'll end our session for the evening. Hope everyone enjoyed our session this evening and enjoyed our new overlays that were done by my good friend. Oh my God! Now I've just lost his name. Who did all of my overlays in our last campaign? Bird, help me out. Oh my God.
Carl, yeah.
Carl, good God. I was thinking Kurt, and I knew that wasn't right. Carl, who did all of these special overlays for Volcluron. So I hope you all enjoyed them out there on the stream. And we'll go around real quick and meet our players. We will go backwards, as always, so let's start off with Meta.
Oh, hi. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see here. I played Queta. I'm gonna throw my name where you can find me on like Twitch and Twitter and Instagram, Thanos, and all that other jazz into the chat. But yeah, I'm Metazoa, known everywhere as like Metazoa 54321. This was a lot of fun. This was a very different sort of combat. It was a very different sort of scene, and it was really just interesting to be able to play in that moment, even as a character who's generally geared toward like a certain type of combat. It's like very interesting to be able to make these things with you. But yeah, as to what I do personally, I make music a lot of the time. Yeah, that's me.
Thank you. Next up, we have Ace.
Hi, it's been a night of highs and lows and very, very highs. I'm Ace, and this was a roller coaster session.
Glad you enjoyed it. Next up, we have Bird.
Hey, I'm Bird. It's wild to talk your way out of a Banshee fight, but damn it, team, we did it together. You can find me basically everywhere as Bird versus Plane, and we'll catch you next week.
Next up is Grant.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, like Ace said, a roller coaster of a session for sure, but definitely a good time. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to next week's. Thanks for joining us, everyone.
And last but not least, Kuma.
Hi, hello, yes. I am a sucker for a good love story, so I ate this shit all up. Happy to be the team cheerleader. You can find me everywhere online at Kuma the Bronze, releasing content and playing multiple games throughout the week. Thank you guys for watching.
And I'm Tall Squall. I am your DM. Hope you enjoyed the story. Very interesting the way the roles lined up for the sequence of events of this, because it could have gone much differently depending on who went down and what their initiative order was. So hope you all enjoyed it and liked the way it unfolded for us. And again, we run 100% for charity. You can donate down below. But until next time, gather your friends together and tell a story, because that is what it's all about. Good night, everyone.